This episode of Lenses and Lyrics is brought to you by Imagine, the AI post-production tool built for professional photographers. Whether you're culling hundreds of photos or editing full galleries, Imagine helps you get your time back by learning your style and handling the heavy lifting. That means less time behind the screen and more time doing what you love, like growing your business or rocking out with your band. Check them out at lenseslyrics.com/imagine. That's IMAGEN. Work smarter, not harder, with AI assistance and intelligent automation from Imagine. David, I am really excited. My first guest for Lenses and Lyrics. So let's kick things off right away. You are a photographer right now, right?
Yeah.
But you still play music. You still play music.
I do. I mean, I dabble a little bit, but not as much as I want. Yeah. I'm not playing. I'm not.
And what's it?
I'm not playing actively anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'm not in bands anymore, but I'll still create music on the side, just kind of for fun. And then actually interesting right now, my son is actually getting into music. So I've been like kind of helping him kind of like, come up with band names and stuff like that. And so that's really cool. But right now, I mean, I wish I was in a band right now, but I don't know where to fit it into my schedule at all.
Right. And what is your son trying? What is he playing and trying to get into a band playing?
So he plays guitar. He's self-taught. We bought him an acoustic when he was 11, and he never really fell into it. And then a couple years go by, he came home and I'd seen him pick his guitar up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're playing guitar? He's like, yeah, some friends at school, we want to start a band, so I want to learn, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh, cool. So I told him, I was like, you know what? If you show me that you're really interested in playing, I will buy you an electric guitar for Christmas. And he learned a couple songs, within literally, maybe a matter of, 6 months. Learned a couple songs, was getting better. I told him, play for an hour every day. That's all you really need. And we'll go from there. And now he's literally plays every day. He's gotten so good. So it's pretty cool.
Nice. So can you tell me about your history with music? Because I know you were in at least one band.
Yeah.
Was there multiple? Give me the backstory behind this.
So I actually started in bands when I was 16. The first band I ever started was a kind of like a metalcore band back in the day. And that one was really cool because obviously it was the first band. Playing in the garage and, getting all the learning, basically. I was pretty much learning with my friends. We're all around the same age. And that band slowly started to take off in within our local scene. We did a couple mini tours, stuff like that, wrote some demos. And then once that band kind of fizzled out, some of the same members started another band called Before the Downfall. Before the Downfall was kind of the same genre, but just a little heavier and more, I guess, progressive, faster. And then that band really took off. We went on a couple mini West Coast tours and did the whole thing. We bought this really terrible van and just went for it. After that band fell apart, I didn't really do anything for a year. And then I joined into a band that was already kind of doing their thing. And this was kind of a weird dynamic because it was more of a screamo band. So the lead singer sung, but they wanted somebody who did scream, could scream. And that's pretty much what my background is as a vocalist. So I came in and he was singing and I was screaming. And as time went on, they kind of wanted to eliminate the singing part of it. And, the guy that was singing left. And then I started taking over as a frontman for that band. And that one, I would say, other than the last music project that I did, would have been the most successful band that I was in at the time in the genre. We did a couple tours. We played Warped Tour, which was really rad, locally in Ventura. So back in the day, Warped Tour used to have a thing called I guess they're bringing it back this year, which is cool. But they had a battle of the bands. So you would submit a song, and you get people to vote on it. And if you win, they would bring you out to a local date of your choice. And we won the Ventura date, and we played it, and it was rad. We played another one. So there's a fest. I don't know if you're familiar. Have you ever heard of Cornerstone Fest?
Yeah.
So it's on the East Coast. So it's a big, we weren't a Christian band, but we were we weren't obviously not like against anything as well, but we played this huge fest in Orange County called California Cornerstone. So they were trying to basically bring Cornerstone to California. It was going to be this annual thing, and it was huge. And we got a time slot to play, and it was what we thought was the worst times. And there's actually some videos on YouTube of us playing too, which is rad. But we thought it was like the worst time slot because it was the last day of the fest, and Under Oath was the headliner. So we played after Under Oath, which was on main stage. The only saving grace, I think, to our performance was our tents, like stage, was at the exit. Mm-hmm. So as people were coming out, like we're already like the show had just ended, and we're like, okay, let's milk it a little bit. Let's see if people walk out, and we'll just like bring the guitars, make some noise. And within a matter of seconds, like our entire tent just filled up, and we played in front of like hundreds of kids, and that was pretty rad.
So you could technically say that Under Oath opened for you.
Yeah, I guess we can.
That's really awesome. Yeah, I never had an opportunity to play a festival of any sort. I almost died at a Warped Tour.
Oh wow!
But it was so when the Warped Tours that were in New Jersey typically happened in Asbury Park, which is most well known for like where Bruce Springsteen and Bouncing Souls and so on would play at the Stone Pony and things like that. And there was one where Blink-182 came out, and I wasn't ready for how much that crowd was going to be crazy the entire part. Typically the mosh pits are in the front, right? Yeah. This was like the entire crowd became one giant mosh pit, and I went down fast. I was not expecting it. So I was caught under everybody. Yeah. Broken glasses, lost my shoe. I was beat up.
Oh man,
that was rough.
That is scary.
Yeah, it was really scary. So, did you photograph bands as well while you were in the bands and touring, or did you photograph bands afterwards? Like, was that any part of your transition towards photography?
I think yes and no. I never got to photograph bands. I would love to. Actually, now it's something that I'm like, man, I would really love to get back into that and like concert photography. But when I was shooting, I did a little bit of concert photography when I had my first camera. I bought my first camera pretty much like right before my son was born. So in 2008, I got my first camera, and now I was still in bands at that time. So I did a couple like local shows and, shot some friends' bands and stuff, but it never really was something that I was super into. Mm-hmm. But I think what drew me more to photography was actually being on the other side of the lens, getting photographed. Like when we would hire our photographer, we had a photographer that did most of our work. So when we'd hire him to do like our promo work, I was always so interested in the gear and the light up and like, how is he doing this? Like, oh, that's so cool. And like just when then we would get the photos back, like how the edits came out and stuff. So that always drove me towards like photography and stuff.
Would you say that your time in bands has influenced how you connect with people that you're photographing, whether it's a wedding or just a portrait or whatever? Do you think that the way that you interacted with people during your time playing on stage, off stage, right, has sort of bled into how you interact with people for your photography as well?
I would definitely say yes. I think there's like kind of two sides to that. So especially if we shoot. So like, for instance, I can't talk too much of this because I just shot an NDA wedding, and there was a very large artist that walked the bride down the aisle. Like we are easy to connect to because we were able to talk about music. I told her a little bit about my background and stuff like that. There was also a concert photographer there. I can't remember his name, Neil Patrickson or Peterson or something like that. But he was like one of the big pioneers in like concert photography back in the day. He shot like Alice Cooper and like all these big bands. He has a book on Alice Cooper. So when I told him like my background, I was like, oh yeah, like I used to be in bands. He goes, now you're a photographer. Like, and he would say that the same thing. He's like, it's kind of that same path, right? Like that creative journey. I mean, I've gone from music to being a chef. I was a graphic designer for a little bit, and then from that to what I do now as a photographer. So once I find out that somebody has that background, it definitely makes it a lot easier to connect with them and talk to them and stuff like that.
For sure. Yeah, I've had one, so I don't do weddings that often. I take them when they're like extremely special. One of them that I took on was a Grammy winner, and I was still not allowed to like share anything. But it definitely makes when you connect with your clients in a way, whether it's music or something else, obviously that's gonna just make the whole day, the whole project, the whole session, the whole event just so much more exciting, more special. So that's always a good thing. I was just in Washington, and I was speaking at an event, and there was 4.5 other speakers. One was sort of like an impromptu, last minute, like, hey, we can have this guy talk about this one print competition. And one of the other speakers, the last speaker of the entire event, was Davis Freeman. I don't know if you know who that photographer is, but he is one of the few people who has photographed on that giant 4-foot by 6-foot Polaroid camera.
Oh, wow.
And he's retired at this point. He's almost 80. And now he just speaks at events and shares his story and things like that when people want. And it's really interesting. And he's photographed Dave Matthews Band, and he's photographed Crosby from Crosby, Stills and Nash, and so many others. And after his class, he was complimenting my class, and then I'm talking about his class. It was really a nice connection to be able to connect with another photographer in person about, who is your favorite person? I literally asked him, of all the celebrities that you've ever photographed, who is your favorite? Yeah. And it's always interesting to see the perspective of, like, if it's a politician, is it because of the politics that the person was your favorite, or is it something unrelated to the politics?
Yeah.
And if it's a whatnot. So it was really interesting. And he told me his least favorite and his favorite. But anyway, so Davis Freeman, definitely worth looking up his work. Just beautiful, beautiful work, and really, really nice guy. So I am curious so you're not performing anymore. So if you were to perform, now that you've been behind the camera more, right? Probably, I'm assuming at this stage, you've probably been behind the camera for more time than you were ever in front of the camera. Am I right to assume that, or am I incorrect?
I would 100% agree with that. I mean, I don't even know the hours I've used my camera and how much I've used my camera. Especially, just, from weddings alone. I mean, I've shot in the last couple of years, I've definitely shot over 1,000 weddings. So, I definitely like to be in front of the camera a lot, or, getting my picture taken. And that's like one thing I said, I would love to get back into doing, shooting artists, like even if it's a local band, like just to practice like different techniques. Cause the funny thing is even in wedding photography, I think that's why I enjoy shooting groomsmen so much, because I almost look at it like shooting a band. I set them up very similar to how I would shoot a band, like pose them the same way. So in my head, I'm like, all right, it's time to go do band photos. Like,
right. Well, so let me ask you this: knowing what you know now about photography, if you were to go back, or let's say you were presented with the opportunity to be in a band again now, like right now, and you're about to go perform on stage, what would you do different? Would you do anything different than what you might have done in the past? Whether it's knowing you're going to be photographed while you're performing, would you position you and your bandmates a different way or a specific way now knowing what it's like as a photographer?
No, because you know what? The funny thing is I was always constantly aware of cameras when I performed. As far as everybody else, I mean, the thing is like when you play in a band, at least for me, this is how my wife was, how would you do that? Because like I've played in front of a lot of freaking people. So my wife would be like, how do you get on a stage and like not like get nervous. And I was like, you really don't see anything. Like, I just see the lights. So usually, obviously, you could see the photographers because they're usually in the pit. They're right there in the front. So I kind of just look for them, and they're almost like my comfort zone, right? So I could just like be like, I'm performing for this one camera, or maybe this one camera right here. So yeah, I don't think I would change much because I was always aware that there was a camera on me.
Yeah. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. Yeah, I think I would, depending on the venue, I think in certain situations, I would ask for lighting to be a certain way.
Okay.
Because knowing, yes, like I've got a crazy light going on behind me right now because I thought it'd be fun, right? But if I was on stage, right, and I know that I've got these crazy lights that are changing colors and there's spotlights and some are more harsh than others, etc. We know as photographers, it's going to be much harder to work with, right? To dial in the color how you would want it in the end photo. So I think for me as a photographer, if I was to go back on stage, I would ask for the lighting to be, I'm okay with color, but keep it still.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Instead of having craziness. Smoke machines, I still like.
Oh, dude, smoke machines make it. There's a local venue out here where I shoot like sometimes, and like the venue itself, I mean, it's actually a brewery, and they took half of the brewery and turned it into a little venue. But they have like an incredible like hazer, I think, is what really makes their lighting like pop.
Yeah. That it's cool when two types of venues combine. There's a brewery out here that now has bands come through and only play acoustic in their brewery, and they have a very small stage, which is probably why it's acoustic, because it's not enough room for an entire band. But it's always packed.
Awesome.
Every single one. Yeah, it's there's one coming up I really want to go, but unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to do it because I have a proposal to photograph the same day, and I'm like,
oh yeah, that's tough.
Can't swing it. But so I have a microphone here.
Okay.
Now this is for anybody who's listening. You'd have to watch the video on YouTube to see what I'm about to ask David. But as somebody who had the mic while you were performing, I am curious. How would you hold this mic? Were you this type of person, this type of person, or this type of person?
Yeah, I would, and that's an SM58, which is what I used as well. Or
Technically, it's a Pile ripoff of it is the PD Mic 58. So it's literally
that's so funny.
Pile brand ripoff of the SM. Yeah.
But yeah, I was the cupper. So like, you know, I would have a number two. No, not that one. The other one. Number two.
Oh, you were this.
Yes. Yeah,
because full on, you got the whole thing.
Yeah, because I mean, I was a screamer, so not only does that help the scream because you have to keep it so close to your mouth. Yeah, it was just that. Man, I used to break so many microphones too. I feel bad. I probably owe some venues some money from the amount of microphones I've broken.
It's so good. It's so funny. My favorite mic that I ever used as a person who, because I also screamed for a band, was I wish I still had it, but it was the one that looks like the old.
Oh, I know. It's like microphone. The Elvis microphone. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
But it's still a brand new microphone, but it looks.
I always wanted one of those, but they didn't sound good for me because there's actually have a they pick up better on lower frequencies and not higher frequencies. So the SM58, I think I still have mine literally somewhere in a drawer from when I played. That's like the only piece of equipment that I kept, and a little mixer.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Are there any specific songs or albums that now, old album, new albums, old song, new song, whatever, that inspires your photography? Like, do you put it on when you edit? If you're like in a studio environment, not necessarily a wedding, but like, do you put something on that inspires yourself? How's that play into your photography work?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely love to listen to music when I edit as background noise. If it's not a YouTube video, it's music. And my music taste now as a 37-year-old adult is all over the place. But one artist,
Same.
one artist that is constantly on my, which is funny because I use Pandora and people are like, you use Pandora, but that's always on my Pandora, or even, you know, maybe I'll throw it in like a YouTube mix, is a band called My American Heart. They're an old emo band that I think were honestly ahead of their time. Like, I think if they were a band now, they would probably be huge. But yeah, they're just an old emo band and really good guys. And I always have that channel on Pandora. And it always plays like a bunch of other music that I'm into. But like just that whole, they have an album called Hiding Inside Horrible Weather, which is like just such a good album. And I listen to that all the time.
Nice. Awesome. Awesome. I got one more question for you. So before I ask you your question, do you have a question for me about music and photography and that intersection?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to know, what band were you screaming in?
Fun story. So the band was called Sever the Stars, named after a song from Poison the Well. And we practiced our butts off, had our first show, which was with the band Penfold and the band The Assistant. And hold on, because this is the kicker. This is the kicker right here. The band For Stella Ford and the band Off Minor.
Wow.
And the band A Day's Refrain. We played on Halloween. I don't remember what year it was, but it was Halloween in a very popular, not quite like a Knights of Columbus. It was called the M&M Hall, but it was like it was like a Knights of Columbus, but it wasn't part of a chain of those type of things. It was $6 at the door, and vegan food was for sale. And the reason why I know this was because someone in a local group just found 3 flyers from that show, and she's mailing me one. And it's a sick flyer. But anyway, Sever the Stars, we played one show. At the end of the show, we were actually talking with the guy who owns the record label that Penfold and The Assistant were on. And we were just talking, and then the band got in a fight. We broke up. So that was it. One show.
That's crazy. That's
yeah. But a lot of sick stuff came out of that. Like there's a band called Bedlight for Blue Eyes
that
blew up.
That sounds familiar.
That came out of Seven
Oh man, have you heard of Folly or Entourage?
Yeah, they're from Jersey.
They're both from Jersey. So like I went on tour with them years ago. Actually, my friend's band went on tour with them, and I went with them as just kind of like a merch guy and stuff like that. But became really good friends with like the guys from Entourage and Folly and all that stuff. So they did a West Coast tour. So every time I hear anybody that's like in the music scene from New Jersey, that's like, do you know Folly?
Yeah, I saw Folly a lot.
You're so good.
A lot. Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. I can go on for days about this kind of stuff. I love talking about it. My last question for you is, if you could photograph any musician, band, past or present, who would it be and why?
I would probably, man, there's 2 that I would love to photograph, but I would say 2. So I think the first band that I'd photograph, we'll do it like this. So the first band I would photograph would probably be Thursday, and the reason is Thursdays
from Jersey.
Yeah. Thursdays. Well, I actually have a tattoo. It's covered up right now. Actually, I have their logo on my wrist right here. You can't see it, but it's covered up. They were probably one of the first bands that I really, really got into when I was getting into like emo and screamo, and it was showed to me by one of my best friends who actually got me into photography. So they always have a special place in my heart. And then second band or artist, band that I would photograph, or artist I should say, is Dallas Green from City and Color. He's always just been like, I don't know, I've just always loved his music, and he's just got such a unique style to him. So to do like a really nice moody portrait of him would be really rad.
Interesting. So he's doing, so I've listened to City and Color, but he's doing solo stuff now?
No, he does. I would just photograph him.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. That sounds good.
About yours? What's yours?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting one. First, I'm going to blow your mind about Thursday for a second. So, a lot of iconic emo and punk and that kind of rock bands have come out of New Jersey. A lot.
Yeah.
We like to produce really good musicians, apparently. My older brother, who's I think 3 years older than me, 4 years older than me, when he was in college, my brother's best friend, who was basically like my second older brother growing up, Jeff Rickley was his college roommate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would go see Thursday play before they blew up so many times and just watch Jeff crying on stage, singing his heart out. And he was definitely someone that inspired me to like overperform on stage because of how much he put into everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, huge respect to Jeff and Thursday. Who would I photograph? There's so many, but honestly, my man, Johnny Cash. If I could bring him back for a day, just spend a day walking around, hanging out, and, just listen to what he has to say and just document. Not even a styled session or anything. Just document Johnny Cash.
Yeah, that'd be rad.
That's what I want for a day.
That'd be rad.
Yeah. So, one of my favorite autobiographies is his book. And it's just incredible, the amount of stuff that he went through and had to fight and whatnot. It's just, he's a very inspiring guy. And so, Johnny Cash.
That's cool. Yeah, I have to look in.
Yeah. David, I'm going to include a link to your website, of course, in the show notes. If there's any other, YouTube videos or any Pandora links or whatever you want to share to your music that you've, been a part of, please share it with me. I will include that in the show notes as well.
Okay. Yeah, will do. Some YouTube stuff on the internet of one of my bands, Ship Shape in Bristol Fashion. There's a video. We have one music video that we did. We have a live performance at Cornerstone. And I'm actually working on getting, I've been talking to our bassist a lot. He has like tons of like high 8 tapes from when we went on tour that I'm going to try to make a little video out of. And then the last band, which we didn't even talk about. So the last music that I did was a band called Party at Her Place. And it was kind of an electro emo band similar to the lines of like Breathe Carolina. It's called Scene Man, So that one was probably my most successful band because we were actually published. I was on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I was on Bad Girls Club, all these E-network shows. So if you search that, you can find some interesting stuff on the internet for that.
Awesome. I appreciate you hanging out, talking music and photography with me. And thanks also for being my first guest.
Yeah, thank you.
Lenses and Lyrics.
Thank you. It was a blast. It was fun. I love doing these. I love talking to you. You're an amazing guy. So,
as are you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Sweet. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Have a good one.